Hello again. From time to time, one reads articles in the newspapers which really do sound as though they must be spoofs. There was one such in this morning's Daily Telegraph, to which I give a link in the description to this video. Here we are, it's headed "Train Staff on Wrong Track," ladies and gentlemen. It appears that passengers on the train were greeted by a cheerful announcement from the driver, who had the temerity to say, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls." This prompted some idiot to tweet the following to the London and North Eastern Railway, who operates the service. "As a non-binary person, this announcement doesn't actually apply to me, so I won't listen." Almost immediately, the company responded by saying that the driver should not be using language like this. And "Please could you let me know which service you are on, and I will ensure they remain as inclusive as we strive to be at LNER." You literally could not make this up. Sometimes people accuse those of us who object to this kind of thing as being transphobic, or at the very least old-fashioned, but I don't think so. I like to hear people say "ladies and gentlemen," which is an expression used in this country for centuries, and I cannot for the life of me see why it should be offensive to anybody in the world. It is part of my life. It's part of this country's traditions. It's part of my heritage. Somebody greeting an audience by saying, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen." I don't see why we should change all that because one or two people object to it. Or particularly in this case where one single person has objected to it. Part of the problem, well, at any rate, I see it as a problem, is that children are being taught some very strange things at the moment about sexuality and gender. When I say taught, I mean that they're learning about this and deliberately being taught it at schools. And when I say children, I'm not talking about adolescents, I'm talking about 5-year-olds. Before going on, perhaps I ought to say a few words about my own past, lest everybody run away screaming in horror at the thought that I'm behaving like a transphobe and inciting hate crimes. I have always preferred the company of women to men, and all my friends are women. I literally have nothing at all to do with men these days. Simple as that. For much of my career, in this country at least, my life has revolved around small children and under fives. For example, toy libraries, nursery schools, speech therapy, primary schools and so on. This too has meant that for at least 35 years I've worked almost exclusively with women. It was much the same at school. I liked being with girls rather than boys. Now, here's the thing. None of this means that I actually am a woman in a man's body. It means rather that I'm a weird kind of man. That's fine. I don't suppose this will come as any sort of surprise to anybody that watches these videos to learn I'm a weird man. It's perhaps a conclusion which it's difficult to avoid drawing after having seen me talk for 5 or 10 minutes. Some men and boys do not fit into neat categories, and they don't like the idea of being seen as weird men. They think that they might in some sense really be females, and so they switch over and adopt the social role of women. It's called transsexualism. I have not the least objection in the world to anybody doing this. It's nothing to do with me, although I think it is often an ill-advised move. I say this because men changing from being seen as weird men often end up being seen as weird women instead, which is unfortunate. Because of my own experiences and what I have observed about the transsexual lifestyle, and I might go into this in more detail in another video, I've come to the conclusion that having a strong gender identity as either a male or female is more likely to bring happiness and stability to an individual. I think it a bad idea actively to encourage young children to start doubting or questioning their gender identity. which is a thought which hardly ever occurs to children anyway, unless someone suggests it to them. I say hardly ever because, of course, in very rare cases, a child does come up with the idea spontaneously that a boy might think he's really a girl, or vice versa. One thinks of Jan Morris, who died recently, the author of autobiography called Conundrum, some of you might have heard of. Generally, though, girls who are tomboys grow out of feeling that way at puberty, and boys who prefer the company of girls can sublimate their feelings in romantic attachments. I seriously disapprove though of putting the idea of gender confusion into the minds of 5-year-olds, which is what is currently being done at both British and American schools. Here is a book which may be found in many schools and libraries in both Britain and the United States. It is called Who Are You? The Kid's Guide to Gender Identity. According to the Amazon listings, which I give a link above, it is aimed at 5 to 8-year-olds. I won't read the whole thing, which, by the way, is written in very simple language with big words. It's obviously aimed at very young children, you can see. On page 16, we read, some people say there are only 2 genders, but there are really many genders. In short, children are taught that it is not true that there are only 2 genders. At the back of the book is this ghastly device. I must show you this. It's a wheel, helpfully in rainbow colours, obviously to evoke the idea of the gay liberation movement or pride or whatever. Right. It's designed to help children work out where they are on this supposed spectrum of infinite variation of gender. Right. I am, and we have various choices. I am a girl, a boy, both, neither, sometimes a girl, sometimes a boy, non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid, trans, transgender, agender, gender neutral, neutrois, don't know what that means, bigender, third gender, two-spirit. As I say, I have not the least objection to anybody wearing whatever clothes they wish, or presenting as men or women, or having surgery, electrolysis, taking hormones, anything else. It's purely personal matter, it's no affair of mine. These can be very serious actions to take, though, with long-lasting effects, often deleterious effects upon health. For example, taking hormones for the whole of your life can result in things like osteoporosis. I'll go into this on another video. This is adult stuff. If an adult chooses to do that, that's fine. It's not something to get children involved in. Whatever adults do is none of my business at all, as long as it only involves them or other adults. When it comes to children, though, this is everybody's business. It is my business what's happening with children, because children don't have the capacity to make informed and rational choices.